Hello Virgo, welcome to the Plaid Sheep Oracle. I realized last night that I skipped your sign in the first group of readings that I did. And that seemed crazy. How could I skip Virgo? I actually have a couple of Virgo placements. And I didn't know if maybe I hadn't heard you, but looking at this reading this morning, and warning, this might be kind of a long video. I might hit 30 minutes or more, maybe. I think you were waiting for Virgo season proper to begin. You appear here several times in the cards, but first, the feeling I got when I was shuffling and when I played the song for you, the song is Emerald, sung by Dar Willians. And it's a very appropriate song for you, filled with earthy green images of mountains and rivers. But there's a sadness to it too, a little bit. The song ends on an upbeat, but there is a melancholy in the song too. And I really felt that from you, Virgo. I mean these readings to be timeless, to not be anchored to any particular date, but they are influenced by the energies now. And Virgo Pluto has been trining your sign since 2008. And Uranus has been trining your sign since 2018. That is a lot of changing energy. A lot of energy demanding transformation, demanding change, demanding doing things a new way. And trines are easy energy flow. But that doesn't, I mean, they're sort of thought of as favorable or pleasant aspects, but one can see that a lot of something flowing fast and easily may not necessarily be pleasant, right? You may not like the roller coaster ride. You may not like a lot of speed, a lot of change, just whizzing through your space. Although you are mutable, Virgo. You are the mutable earth. So there is a greater ability to change and shift. You're ruled by Mercury. But still there is that earthy component. And most especially there's the body component. Virgo as representing the human body, the actual physical part of us. And our bodies don't really enjoy rapid, sudden change. Our bodies prefer a slower rhythm of change. One of the reasons, right, that we may get a cold, either in the spring or the fall, is because there is this change happening. We're moving from cold to warm or warm to cold, dark to light and light to dark. And this adjustment can make things uncomfortable in our body. And it may be that you've really been feeling that. This feeling of a sadness in you, Virgo. I sort of teared up a little bit as I was sort of listening to the music and laying out your cards. But the energy around you, Virgo, is not about that. I mean, you are here, we start with you here. The Knight of Materials, the Knight of Pentacles, traditionally Virgo. Knights being mutable energy. So you are here out of the gate, the underlying energy. And you are a knight, right? Mutable, but the Knight of Pentacles is the slowest moving knight. The knight who takes his time. He's not rushing. I mean, this one, right? There's a sense of speed, but not too fast. And it's not explosive. He's sort of cantering over this field. And I think you have been, right, trying to maintain that for yourself. But the first card out for you, which is the energy that is now coming in. This is the energy moving through Virgo, where the sort of universal Virgo is headed. And that is the Queen of Materials, the Queen of Pentacles. Traditionally, queens are cardinal energy. So Capricorn. Pluto in Capricorn. I always feel like she's daring me, right? She's leaning through this magical portal, this magical mirror, and saying, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to see your own fabulous nature? And she's followed then by Temperance. And this Muse Tarot Temperance always seems like sort of a revelation, right? Like she's got her hands up there next to her head and like she's had a revelation. And this revelation is sending her moving in the Fool. And the Fool is headed for the Sun. So if you've been feeling melancholy, if you've been having some difficulty with all of the change energy that may be passing through, that you've been dealing with for a number of years now, I'm here to tell you, Virgo, that it's maybe intensifying, although not in a chaotic way. The Queen of Pentacles and Temperance certainly are organized energies. They don't move in chaos. This Fool is not walking off a cliff. I mean, there's a little gap there, but it's a tiny gap. She does have to, right, cross the gap, but she's not having to leap over some giant chasm. She's not going to fall off the cliff as she moves into this new picture. And this Sun, right, with this figure in a meditative pose, is not an explosive Sun. The Sun over the desert. Traditionally, people go to the desert to obtain inspiration, to obtain knowledge and wisdom, to be in a place that is free from outside influence. And so you're moving, Virgo, but not into the fray. The Hermit is traditionally the card associated with Virgo. And the Hermit doesn't appear here, but there is this repeated kind of desert sand theme that culminates here in this 9 of inspiration. And I feel as if you are going to spend some time here in the desert, not hiding. You're not hiding. You're not avoiding anything. You are focusing, Virgo. You are finding, maybe you're finding what's at the root of this melancholy, this distress, perhaps, that you've been feeling. And you're going to figure it out. You're going to understand, because you come out, right? You've been in the desert and then you are coming out as this fabulous figure. Really like impressive and moving and confident in your movement. Emotionally confident too, right? And we get a little faster, slightly faster as we hit the Knight of Cups. It's still not the Knight of Swords or Wands, which are the 2 speeders, the speed knights, but this is greater movement and joy in emotion rather than sadness. And then as you find your way into that, you move into this justice, which can be, right, sort of balanced, but I see this as coming out of whatever has been binding you mentally and receiving inspiration, receiving this awakening energy, becoming now this Queen of Inspiration, Queen of Wands, receiving new energy and ideas. Cardinal fire is Aries. The Queen of Wands is Aries. Although this queen is sort of still, there is this cheetah down here. There's a kind of potential energy here, ready to run when the moment is right. And this row ends with the Muse of Voices, who is it's the king of swords traditionally. But in this card, there is absolutely this portal energy. There's a butterfly moth theme going on. This is, to me, a card of mental change. You are changing your mind, how you think, patterns of thought, anything that has kept you bound and stagnant and trapped. Right? We've entered your space now, here with Sun in Virgo. And we are having a new moon in Virgo in the early hours of the 27th here on the East Coast, a little after 4 in the morning, Eastern time. There is a new moon at about 4 degrees of Virgo coming. The energy is in your favor. Now this second row sort of feels to me a bit like what might be keeping you trapped where you are. There is the sun underlying, right here is the underlying to this deck. So there is energy. And there's also underneath that the King of Wands, but this particular King of Wands today looks a little pensive. Maybe a little bit in his head. And then there's kind of, I don't think I can hold them all up, but we'll start here. There's 4 of Cups and Strength. And Strength here feels like he's turned away from these cups, like he is especially not seeing these offered cups. He's kind of tucked into himself. And it may be that this Leo season with its heat and intensity, both the new moon in Leo and the full moon in Aquarius were very intense. So it may have, you may have sort of curled in on yourself, tucked yourself in, and are really not seeing what's being offered. You may also feel as if too much is being offered with this 7 of Cups. That all of the change energy is too much. Because then we have a 3rd queen showing up, the Queen of Swords. And this particular Queen of Swords is very melancholy, right? She seems to be in mourning. Here in darkness, there almost seems to be a veil over her face. So you may be having, right, having these veiled thoughts, these mourning thoughts for yourself, for things that are happening around you, for the earth, herself in these times. And there's a star next, which is, right, this normally this beautiful energy of healing and wishes fulfilled. But again, today I'm seeing her as tucked in on herself. And then we get to the King of Pentacles, who, again, you're right, the 3rd version of Earth energy. We've had the Knight, the Queen, and now the King of Pentacles, all the Earth showing up. We're only missing the Page. And he, right, he can be, you know, he's Taurus energy. So that can be very fixed. You may be feeling fixed. Saturn is quincunx, your sign over there in Aquarius. That can be an irritating or strange energy. Something at the back of your mind that you can't quite identify. Or a feeling of loss of stability. Too much even for your mutable nature. So these, right, this feeling of excess instability, of sadness, of overwhelm, maybe where you are now, but I don't believe that you're going to stay there, Virgo. The next cards are advice. First, there's faith and trust, followed by trust yourself. And with this dragonfly, that to me says spiritual, intuitive knowing. And then the owls, who are about wisdom. So trusting your own intuitive knowing and your own wisdom that you have accumulated in your life. Regardless of how long you have lived it, you've lived some life. And during that time, you have learned things. Now this life is simple, which may not really, I mean, you know, is life simple? I don't know. I think that what we're really saying here is don't overthink it. And you may have that tendency, Virgo. Your Gemini rulership, right? The Gemini is domiciled, is the head of house in Virgo. Can mean that you can really get in your head about it. Analysis paralysis, overthinking, trying to get everything into a spreadsheet, every single factor laid out, set up so that it can be controlled. And this card is saying, don't do that. Don't let everything go. You do want to have things stable, and you pay your bills and you buy your groceries and you do these things that keep you stable, that are part of the life that we have here on earth. You tend to your body. You tend to your spiritual needs. Virgo is also sort of, for me, the sign of Vesta, the holy fire, devotion. Don't let go of all that stuff. But that overthinking thing, the lying awake in the middle of the night, the sort of 9 of Swords energy or 8 of Swords energy that can sometimes show up, that is not the way. And then third here is the beat of your drum. So that's more of knowing your own mind. That's actually a theme that's sort of come up for me several times the last few days. Know thyself. Know thyself. And I would add, love thyself. Learn what your pitfalls are. What are your triggers? Find those places so they don't catch you unawares. But don't cling to them. And if something somebody tells you doesn't feel right for you, don't do it. Trust yourself, your own beat, your own internal music, Virgo. Your own internal cycles. We all have our personal physical cycles. Work with those. Work with the beat of your body. When your body needs rest, give it rest. Activity when it needs activity. Follow your own rhythm through your days. And today the fairies wanted to come out. You have been honored with the fairies, Virgo, with their own bit of advice, their own, it's a confirmation, I think, of everything that's come up here. The underlying energy is the singer of connection. Connection to yourself, somatic connection to your body, connection to the earth, the physical earth, and also connection to others. So tending to those connections, Virgo. And they'll be there even during this time you spend in the desert. I don't know how long that will be. I can't tell you. I think that's going to be individual for everybody that sees this. It may be new moon to new moon, to the Libra new moon. It may be just when you feel done, not by any other clock, but your internal clock, because you are connected. And then the Singer of Healing. And this feels very much like encouragement to me. Like a kind word from Spirit and from the Fae. Today. That healing is happening. That it isn't something that you need to overwork or overthink. Healing happens in ease rather than in effort. And the Soul Shrinker, right, is here. One of Virgo's pitfalls, and I experienced this myself, is judging. Not having good judgment. Good judgment is the positive aspect of that, but judging. Judging other people, although often that is just self-judgment, and self-judgment can be judging other people. You may think, and I've done this, that you're really easy with other people, that you don't scold them or judge them for things that they do, that you're, you know, willing to let them be themselves, but then you judge yourself. And if you're judging yourself, you're judging others, whether you know it or not. It may be a hidden thing. But if you've got a lot of self-judgment, if you come down on yourself because you made a mistake, or you weren't as kind as you should be, or you weren't as loving as you should be, you didn't get things done the way you should. If you're judging yourself in this way, then you're actually also judging other people. Underneath, subconsciously. And the reverse is also true. If you are loving with yourself, then you're far more likely to be loving with other people. And, right, so the Soul Shrinker is here. Just beware of these hypercritical, judgmental thoughts that you may be having, even if they're about yourself, or maybe especially if they're about yourself. Your body also hears all of those thoughts. Everything you say and think is heard by the cells of your body. And here himself, more encouragement. He is the shaman of this deck. The wisdom of Earth. And when he shows up, that wisdom is here. It is with you. You can ask himself for help. He may appear in a different form for you. That doesn't really interest him, right? He knows who he is for himself. So that earthly wisdom is here for you. And finally, the dressing and undressing of a salad, which is reminding us that everything is a process. Sometimes things can, right, happen in a snap, but mostly it's a process and a cycle. We go through cycles of dressing and undressing, events passing through our lives. Nothing is fixed in stone. Right? This is reminding you of your mutable nature. Remember that everything is a process, Virgo. I think that you are on your way to somewhere beautiful, Virgo. There is going to be a period of stillness during this Virgo season, a period of interiority. It may be that you need to step away from outside influences, particularly things like social media and news that can particularly cause internal anxiety and overthinking and catastrophizing and all of those things that may increase the melancholy, right? If you listen to some particularly bad news about something. I know I avoid social media often because it can trigger that judgment in me. I'll read something and I'll think, well, why are they doing that? Even if I don't, I don't engage in it, but it's there in my head. Even if I don't make a comment, I've triggered that line of thinking in my own brain. And that's what we don't want. We want to keep away from that. Until such time as we really find this kind of balance, this ability to not be affected so much, to not be thrown off balance by what we might run into in the outside world, to keep our internal integrity, even in the face of a lot of provocation. And that's not to say that you won't care or that you won't be affected by things, but it's to say that you won't spin out. And end up in a mental whirlpool or some sort of melancholy state, depression or anxiety, however it manifests for you. You won't end up with physical symptoms. Digestive disorders may be particular for you. Virgo rules the digestive system. So for all of us, mental stress and anxiety and overthinking and judgment and all of these things can manifest in digestive issues. And then that trickles out into the rest of our body if our digestion is off. And it isn't so much about, this supplement or that food as it is about getting your mind right. Getting your mind right, Virgo. Follow your beat, your cycles. Trust yourself. The assistance is absolutely there. It is absolutely there for you. And you are cared for and loved, Virgo. I wish you all of the very best Virgo, and I feel as if you're headed somewhere really wonderful. I will see you next time. So long.